I know it's been quite a while since I reviewed anything, so thank you for still being subscribed and not giving up on me. Basically, I was saving up to get a decent camera, and that just hasn't happened yet, but I've already seen 37 movies this year, so I feel like here's some quick reviews. So because there's 37 movies, I'm going to break them into 4 categories. One of movies I really enjoyed and I highly recommend you go to see. Second is they're decent movies worth seeing if you like that genre. Third is movies definitely not worth seeing. And fourth is just Netflix movies. I'm putting them in their own category just because they're so easy to watch and find with availability wise. So they're the 4 different groups. It's just easier. These are just going to be quick reviews. If you want more information, check on IMDb for these movies, or I might do an extended review if people want that. Alright, so to start off with, I'm going to do the movies I recommend of 2019. So in this group, I'm just going to by the release date order of Australia. So each category is all mixed, but they all have in chronological order of what date they were released. So the first movie is Glass. Now, I really enjoy M. Night Shyamalan movies to a degree. There's some movies that are absolutely horrible, and there's some movies that are really, really good. Usually I go into his movies expecting a twist. This does have a decent twist in it, but it's not the best twist in the world. But generally, if you do like The Sixth Sense, if you liked Unbreakable, if you like Split especially, this is worth seeing. James McAvoy is fantastic. It's not the best movie in the world, but I really did enjoy it, and I highly recommend going to check it out. The second movie is Green Book. I absolutely adored this movie. I'm so happy that it won Oscar nomination, like it got nominated for the Oscars and then it won Best Picture. It definitely deserved it. The performances are fantastic. It did get a lot of negative feedback after it won, but I don't believe the feedback was necessary and it's worth checking out. The third film is The Mule. So this stars Clint Eastwood. I didn't really know much about it going into it. I don't really watch many Clint Eastwood movies, but I really enjoyed this one. A really decent storyline, and it had a really great performance by Clint Eastwood. The fourth film is On the Basis of Sex. So this is kind of, I forgot her name. It's about how she came to be a lawyer, how she came to be in the Supreme Court and the judge. It's a really, really good movie, really great performances, and it's a really decent movie to go see. And it's based on history and this actual person. So if you're into that kind of genre, if you're into those kind of movies, I definitely recommend seeing it. Cold Pursuit's the next movie. If you like Liam Neeson films, you will like this film. It's a good action film. There is nothing unique about the film. It's just a really enjoyable sit down with popcorn and watch it type film. If you like Liam Neeson, I do recommend checking it out. The next film is Escape Room. I was expecting this to be kind of terrible, but also kind of good. It kind of had the Saw vibe to it. I absolutely love the Saw franchise, so I wasn't sure what to expect. As a movie, I really enjoyed it. I do recommend checking out if you like horror movies. There is a lot of plot points in it that I don't really like. But at the time I saw them, they weren't really a problem. But since then, I have watched, there's a YouTube channel called CinemaSins that I enjoy watching. And they kind of point out a lot of issues in the film where I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really make too much sense. So looking back, the film isn't as great as it originally was, but I still really enjoyed it. I still highly recommend going to check it out. Next one is Happy Death Day to You. Absolutely loved Happy Death Day. It was such a unique and different take on kind of reliving the day, trying to stop your death. So it happens again in this one, but in this one she's kind of in an alternate reality, which originally I thought was going to be really stupid based off the trailer, but the movie was actually really smart, and the actress that plays Tree is just fantastic. I really hope she appears in more movies. And the way this ended, there could definitely be a third film, so I'm definitely excited for that. And if you're looking for a new horror film to check out and you haven't seen Happy Death Day or the sequel, I definitely recommend checking them out. The next film is Fighting With My Family. I'm a huge WWE fan. I love Paige. And when this was announced, I was a little unsure about it just because it seemed like The Rock was such a prominent part in it. I'm like, well, he didn't really have that much impact on her career. So, like, I didn't want to be overshadowed in kind of the Hollywood way. But the film is actually really enjoyable. If you're a WWE fan, if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a fan of Paige, this is the film to go check out. Even if you're like, or you feel like you know a lot about her life just based on documentaries or interviews alone, it's still an enjoyable film to watch because you kind of get more view of her family and their wrestling company as well. It's funny, it's a decent story. There's kind of the emotional impact as well. And yeah, it's worth seeing, especially if you like WWE. The next movie is Hotel Mumbai. So this was kind of a random movie that I went to check out. I didn't really know much about it going in, except that it was based on true events when the Taj Mahal was attacked. And there was a few other attacks in Mumbai. I can't remember the exact year it happened, but I don't remember the actual event. But the way the movie depicts it, it does a really good job showing what's happening from the hotel point of view and from the staff and how they kind of rescue the guests. So they do kind of use emotional impact using a particular family that is attacked and involved. Whether that family was real in the actual event, I can't really say, but they did do a really good job in showing the story and showing the impact and the fact that the Taj Mahal like rebuilt itself and it's still going strong today. Like, it's a really good kind of belief in how the staff believed in themselves and how the staff like dealt with the impact. So it's a really good film. It's really decent to go watch. I really enjoyed the film for something I knew nothing about going into it. Yeah, so I definitely would check out Hotel Mumbai if you're into true event movies. The next film is Shazam. So actually, I'm a huge DC fan. I do love DC. When they originally started showing trailers for this film, I'm like, oh, it kind of looks a bit stupid. But because it was DC, I was basically like, yeah, I'll go see it anyway. And usually I just see every movie regardless. So going into this film, I wasn't expecting too much from it. And a lot of people were starting to say, like, Shazam was fantastic. And usually I'm like, I think the opposite of most reviews because a lot of people do hate DC. I don't think it's really warranted to hate DC, but a lot of people do dislike it and usually say, oh, these movies are horrible. So when they started saying these movies are good, I'm like, wait, what? So maybe I'll hate the film. So I went in expecting to kind of like dislike it, but I actually really enjoyed it. There's a great diversity of characters, the way they tell the story from him as a child to how he gets these powers to how he kind of neglects the powers and then accepts it, and then they all kind of range into their power abilities. It was really enjoyable. It's a great story, great performances, great characters. There's also a special guest appearance from Adam Brody. So I grew up with kind of the OC, watching the OC, and Adam Brody as Seth was like this huge comic book nerd. And I actually recently just rewatched the OC. So then Adam Brody showing up being this superhero. I'm like, wow, this kind of came like full circle. This is actually really cool. So if you're not a DC fan, I still reckon check out Shazam because it seemed like a lot of people that usually wouldn't like DC did like it. So I would go check it out. The next film is Endgame. I absolutely loved Endgame. I do generally love the Marvel films. There's a few Marvel films that I don't think are fantastic. And I was wondering how like it would come full circle and how they would conclude the story. Right now, as I'm recording this video, they're talking about re-releasing Endgame with a few extra scenes thrown in. I always knew there was going to be extra scenes, deleted scenes, whatever on the DVD when it came out, but I wasn't expecting them to re-release it in the cinema. I feel like they're mainly doing it just because they want to be Avatar's record, which, fair enough, if that's what you want to do, but I don't think I'm going to go see the extended cut. I'm really undecided. The DVD does come out 21st of August, so I'll probably just wait for the DVD and then go see it then. But Endgame, I really did enjoy. I really liked how it came full circle, how they put all the characters together. There's a few things I do dislike. They don't really bother explaining what happened to Loki. I'm hoping, like, if they are bothering to re-release it and add extra scenes, maybe they'll answer some questions, or at least the TV show coming about Loki will answer these questions. I actually liked what they did with Thor's character. I know a lot of people hate it because they're like, oh, why did you make him fat? It's like, being fat's not funny. I feel like they were showing like everyone deals with depression differently. Like, a lot of people isolated themselves. A lot of people kind of ran off inside a family. But Thor kind of ran off, became fat, but he still thought he was happy. And then he was just really depressed. And then when he like calls the hammer to him, he's like, I'm still worthy. Like, depression doesn't make you unworthy. Being fat doesn't make you unworthy. I feel like that's what they were more going for. And I liked what they did with Thor. I'm glad they brought Korg back in, even for a small cameo. I'm glad Valkyrie was there. I'm mainly more upset about the ending. I don't like what they did with Tony. Like, I was expecting it, but I was also like, out of everyone that could have done that, like, there are so many other people that could have done it and it wouldn't have affected. Like Captain Marvel, basically useless character. You could have done something, but no, let's let Tony do it and die. Like, I just expected Tony to die, but it still pisses me off. Steve, I expected him to die. He didn't. He got to go have a happy life and just whatever. Like, I absolutely hate Steve's ending. I know everyone's saying, oh, like, you deserve to be happy, blah, blah, blah. But basically, if you're saying he traveled back and abandoned everyone in the fight because he comes back afterwards, like, I don't know. I feel like they're going to explain more of it with Spider-Man and the multiverses, but I'm just deeply annoyed by Steve's ending. And it just doesn't make sense for his actual character. Like, Steve never really sacrifices anything. Like, he sacrificed in the very first movie, but since then, he hasn't actually made any sacrifices. And then he's always like, oh, Tony will never sacrifice anything, blah, blah, blah. We all hate Tony, like, everyone turns on Tony. And Tony's the one that saved them all. And it's just... So, as much as I love Endgame, I really, really do love Endgame, the ending just infuriates me to no end. So, moving on, because I can rant about this forever. The next film is John Wick Parabellum. Now, I am so happy that everyone suddenly loves Keanu Reeves. I have loved Keanu Reeves since I was like probably 3 or 4 years old. Like, I grew up watching his movies. Like, I am a 90s baby. I was born in 1991. He was kind of, like, starting to be around then. Like, this is his young stoner looking face. In Bill and Ted I grew up with Speed. So I always grew up loving his movies. And then when John Wick came out, like, it's such a great franchise. I was so excited that he was getting more recognition, and then it turned into a franchise. And I love the second one, and the third one came out. I was just so excited, and it's just such a good movie. I was worried that they were going to ruin it because basically everyone over the world is an assassin. I'm like, what? Like, it sounds a bit far-fetched, but it was actually a really enjoyable movie. Like, with a lot of movies, you need to go in with disbelief. This is that kind of movie. The action sequences are incredible. Like, the choreography for this movie, the performances. Like, I just love Keanu Reeves, and now that everyone else in the world seems to love him, it makes me so ecstatic. I didn't even know anything about Cyberpunk 2077, and now, like, he's in now, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna check this out. Like, I'm just really appreciative that Keanu is getting so much more attention, and John Wick Parabellum is just a fantastic movie, fantastic action sequences. I'm so stoked that John Wick Chapter 4 has already had a date announced of when that's coming out, and I'm over the moon. I love this franchise. If you have not seen John Wick, I highly recommend you go check it out. It is amazing. Maybe I'm incredibly biased, but I do really love it. Moving on. So there's 2 films left with my great film categories. So the next one is Brightburn. So this is a horror movie. It's kind of like what would happen if Clark Kent turned out evil. Like, he's not a hero, he's not Superman, like, just straight up evil. So this is Brightburn. I was kind of not sure what to expect. I'm like, oh, interesting premise, but will it work as a horror movie? It does. This movie is ridiculously gory. I was not expecting some of those death scenes, and wow, there was one scene I literally just had to like cover my face and look away. I cannot do eyes, okay? Like, if someone's eyes are getting hurt, I'm just like, oh no. So that is kind of me with Brightburn. It's a really good movie, really decent storyline. The thing I actually liked the most, though, is they kind of went against the grain. And this time it's the father that was like, the son is evil, we must stop him. And the mother's like, no, it's my sweet little boy. Where like every other movie, usually the mother notices it first and then the father's into that. So this flipped that. So like, it did a lot of things I wasn't expecting, but I did really enjoy it. So the last film on my highly recommended list is Rocket Man. So this film stars Taron as Elton John. Now going in, I didn't know that much about Elton John's life. I know about his music and kind of his career, but definitely not his life, nor his upbringing, not his parents, and definitely not how he came into his sexuality. And it's a fantastic movie. Taron does such an incredible job. Those performances, like, I already knew he could sing from the movie scene where he's like a gorilla. So knowing he could already sing was just like the right choice just based on that. And then you can see him in the costumes and makeup, and he actually looks so well like Elton John. It's uncanny. It's really good. They pulled it off incredibly well. The way they told the story, like starting from when he was a kid and onwards, like they did a really good job. If you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. Even if you're not a fan of Elton John, I feel like this will make you a fan. The worst thing is, before this, I'm like, oh, like Elton John's kind of cool, but you know, like not enough to like want to go see him in concert because he's coming to Australia next year. And now since seeing the movie, I'm like, I actually really want to see him in concert, but of course, all the tickets are sold out. And I'm like, God damn. But this will make you an Elton John fan if you're not already. So I do recommend going and check out Rocket Man. And his outfits are just amazing. The performances, like, just go listen to Taron sing and it's just worth it alone. So those are my great movies list. So there was Glass, Green Book, The Mule, On the Basis of Sex, Cold Pursuit, Escape Room, Happy Death Day to You, Fighting with My Family, Hotel Mumbai, Shazam, Endgame, John Wick, Parabellum, Brightburn, Rocket Man. So those films I highly recommend. The next few films I'm going to go through are, they're decent films that are worth seeing if you like the genre, if you're already like interested in the movie. Otherwise, just if you miss it, no big deal type thing. So Mary Poppins Returns. Emily is fantastic in this movie. The storyline is decent. It's decent enough to sit down and watch, but it's not a movie that had to be made. It's not a movie that you have to rush out and see. It's just a movie that basically was. I pretty much forgot this movie actually came out this year. It feels like a movie that came out years ago. So go see it if you're interested in Mary Poppins. I haven't actually seen the full original film. I've seen bits and pieces here where I feel like if you connect it all, it counts. But yeah, it's not high on my I had to see list. But yeah, so go see it if you like Mary Poppins. Pardon me. The next film is Instant Family. I enjoyed the film enough to watch it at least once. It's enjoyable. It's funny. I love Mark Wahlberg. And the kids are hilarious. Like, I did enjoy the film. There's a few emotional stories, but once you know kind of how it turns out, it's not really worth multiple watches. So it's a decent film to watch at least once and just sit down and enjoy. Like if it's on Netflix or something, you kind of have in the background playing while you're like on your phone or on your computer. So it's a decent film, but nothing worth rushing out if you haven't seen it. Ben is Back. I really enjoyed the film. I definitely enjoyed the performances. It's always good to see Julia Roberts back on the big screen. I enjoyed the film. That's basically like the main point of, I just enjoyed it. Like there's nothing that really stands out. It was a decent storyline. It was a decent like emotional relationship, and at the time I really enjoyed it, but looking back I'm like it was just decent. Like it's definitely not the best storyline I've seen this year. It's not the best performances. Like it's good. I feel like if you're like an aged mother or something, like that's kind of a movie you get as a Mother's Day present. Like it's just those kind of films, like midday movies. So I did like Ben is Back. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. It's just, it's forgettable. The next one is Alita Battle Angel. So going into the film, I was kind of expecting to hate this just because it was delayed so many times and James Cameron dropped out as being director. So when James Cameron is so well known for bringing out these amazing movies and then suddenly he drops out, you're like, oh, well, if he doesn't have faith in the movie, why should I? So going into the film, I wasn't expecting too much, but I did actually really enjoy it. The special effects were pretty good. The storyline was decent. Like, I haven't read the graphic novel. Sorry. I haven't read the graphic novel, so I don't know how faithful it is to the story, but I enjoyed it enough for what it is. If you try and compare it, I imagine it's with anything else, you'd be disappointed. But yeah, I enjoyed it enough. The next film is What Men Want. I was expecting this to be a poor ripoff of What Women Want, which I did enjoy while growing up. I was a fan of Mel Gibson and thought it was funny. So my boyfriend mainly went to see this, which is the funniest thing. So I mainly went to see it just because he wanted to see it. And it was actually really funny. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't really like was the blatant advertising. Because at one point she's like, hey, why don't you have a Fiji water? Like, no one says that. You say, why don't you have some water? Other than the ridiculous advertising, it was a decent story and performances, and was just ridiculous, laugh your head off type thing. But yeah, every time I think about this movie, I just think of the stupid Fiji water, and it's very distracting. So if you do want like a stupid comedy just to sit down and watch, I do recommend it. Otherwise, there is a lot of comedies very similar to the film anyway. The next one is Stan and Ollie. So these are about two performers that basically do this comedy duo thing together. So it's based on true stories of these two people that perform, and I haven't actually watched their real work. So it's Laurel and Hardy, I believe, and while the movie is really good and their performances in the movie is really good, and the cast, they nailed that cast. They look so similar to the actual people. I wouldn't really rush out and see the movie if you could just watch their actual comedy work, or if you could watch like a documentary about them, because maybe the documentary will be more accurate. But as a film, it was enjoyable. Again, it's a lot like Mary Poppins. It feels like it came out ages ago. It doesn't feel like it came out this year, because I honestly keep thinking it came out. Another film, which I was tossing up between whether to put this in the decent film category or in the bad category, and this is Captain Marvel. So it's not necessarily a bad film. It's kind of, it is what it is. But I just don't like Captain Marvel. And that's nothing against, like a woman's film, blah, blah, blah. I like strong female characters if the movie is actually offering something. Captain Marvel doesn't offer anything. As a character, Carol isn't that great of a character. She's kind of a horrible person. Like, it's not just because, oh, you should smile, she steals his bike. Like, I don't care about that. I just mean, like, she doesn't really seem to care about many people that are helping her. Especially when she runs into her old friend, she's like, oh, like, I don't really want any of that. And then suddenly she starts to remember who she is, and she's like, oh yeah, like, family. I don't know. I just wasn't that into Captain Marvel, storyline-wise, character-wise, performance-wise. I like Brie Larson as an actress in many films, but I don't like her as Carol. I'm not sure whether it's how she performs Carol, or how she's told to perform Carol, or just Carol as a character herself. I just didn't really find much redeeming about Captain Marvel. The more annoying thing is, they introduced Captain Marvel before Endgame to bring Captain Marvel into Endgame. And then she was basically a useless character in that movie. And it left like a low plot holes of like, why did she help out in this film or this film? And I know they're like, oh, she's busy like rescuing everyone else. But I just feel like they easily just could have held off Captain Marvel until the next phase and brought her in to kind of like replace those we lost. Because I thought, like, when they were talking about introducing Captain Marvel, like, oh, Steve's going to die and we're going to have a replacement for Captain America. And then because Bucky and Sam's getting their own TV show, she would step up in the movie franchise and take over that way. So that's kind of what I was expecting when they announced her. And I honestly hope they don't use Captain Marvel in the next phase, or if they do, they recast her, because I just feel like she's so out of place with everyone else, and I just don't like Brie Larson as an actress in this type of role. I don't know. I wanted to like it. The only thing I really liked was Goose the cat. And I thought the story of how Nick Fury lost his eye would be more interesting, but the fact he just got scratched up by a cat, I'm like, like, this is just more of a filler, here's a joke for his eye type movie. They especially don't explain why Goose threw up the Tesseract, so it was then on Earth, for it then to disappear again, for Loki to get in Avengers. Like, there's just more plot holes because of this film now. So, like, I put it in my decent category just because, like, if you want to watch all of the Marvel movies, it does fit in. But just as a movie, I didn't really like it, but it's not the worst movie I've seen this year. The next film is Dumbo. So I basically don't remember much of the animated one. I mainly went to see the new one because, one, I love Colin Farrell, and two, Dumbo looks so cute. And so I basically went to watch Dumbo for those two reasons. I did like the movie. I liked kind of the effects of how they showed Dumbo flying around, and he just looks so cute with his eyes and ears. I know, like, it's a fake elephant, but it's still really cute. The storyline was decent. I honestly don't remember how much they've changed. I need to go back and rewatch the animated version. I'm trying to remember more about the movie. I remember some performances weren't that great. Like, they were decent, but not great. And even Colin Farrell was a bit hey going. Like, he could have done better. But it was more catered towards children. So as a children's movie, it is better. I feel like adults are way more critical than children are when it comes to these kinds of movies. So Dumbo was definitely catered towards more children. And they will definitely like it. It's a movie worthy going to see for them. The next film is Pet Sematary. So Pet Sematary is based off a Stephen King novel, which the movie was made back in the 80s, I believe. And then they did Pet Sematary 2, which was just complete garbage. And now they've done a remake, but I'm not sure whether the remake was trying to remake the movie or they were just using the novel as a source material. But I haven't read the book, but I have seen the original movies, and this actually did the original movie really well. There's a lot of scenes where I was like, oh, that's a bit weird, but they actually did the same thing in the original movie, and this just looks way better with the graphics and the makeup effects they used. There's one thing they changed in the story compared to the book and the original movie, and that is they brought a different kid back. So they killed a different kid and brought her back instead. And that was actually a smart decision. Because while it's really sad when any child dies, especially like the toddler, like he doesn't really have much movement in the first one. So when he gets hit by the car, it's like, oh, well, like he could do nothing to stop it. And that's, of course, heartbreaking. This kid, you're like, oh, well, like, why didn't she move type thing? But it's still heartbreaking when a child dies. But she obviously, when she's brought back to life, she has more movement, more ability. So when she starts killing people, it's like, well, yeah, that's more believable than a toddler doing it. So, yeah, while they changed the ending, I feel like it was a much smarter decision and it worked way better. And I did actually enjoy the remake way more than I enjoyed the original. And I plan on reading the book just to see how different the book is, but otherwise I did enjoy the remake way more than I was expecting to. The next film, which I wasn't really sure what to expect from this, so this is Detective Pikachu. Based off the trailer, I'm like, oh, this could be good or this could be bad. And then the fact Ryan Reynolds was voicing Pikachu was fantastic. Like, I grew up loving Pikachu. Like, that was my Pokemon. And then seeing Ryan Reynolds voice him was just like, wow. Like, it just came across so ridiculous, but yet so very funny. So, based off the trailer, I had very mixed views about it. And then seeing the film, while it was enjoyable enough, I kind of left with, I expected more, but I don't know what I expected, which makes very little to no sense. Like, I don't really know what I was expecting. I just wanted more. So while the movie is not necessarily bad, it's also not necessarily good. And there was like a little twist at the end about his father and who his father is. And it's just like, how did you not realize that? Like, so that's like one thing I majorly disliked, just the twist, like you should have seen coming from a mile away. The next film was Storm Boy. I didn't actually see this at the cinema. I borrowed it off my mom because she bought it on DVD. So this didn't actually get much attention just because of what was happening with Jeffrey Rush at the time. So he was going through a defamation lawsuit and a lot of people giving him a lot of slack because there was a sexual assault allegation or something. And so basically people were like, we don't want to watch Jeffrey Rush films. But since this happened, he actually won his court case and won the defamation lawsuit and proves that he was innocent and nothing happened. So I feel like if they re-released the film now and gave it more attention, it would be a wiser decision, but it's definitely swept under the rug. So this is an Australian film. It's kind of about this young boy who rescues a pelican and is looking after this pelican. And he's just telling the story to his son. And it was just, it seems like a weird premise, but it's actually such a really sweet and heartwarming story. Jeffrey Rush is really good in it. Jay Courtney's fantastic. Just as an Australian film, it is really enjoyable. I do recommend checking out if you're looking for an Australian film. It's just a very simple movie about a boy looking after the pelicans, but it was nice. Like, it's worth checking out. And it's really sad that I didn't get the attention it deserves because of the lies going around where now that he is innocent, I feel like they should go, like, check it out now. The next film is Aladdin. So I was actually expected to hate Aladdin. Like, I was terrified I was going to hate it because I love the animated one so much. Like, when you have to pick your favorite Disney movie, Aladdin is my jam. I love Aladdin. And when they announced Will Smith as Genie, I'm like, I love Will Smith. He can definitely do this. But, like, as a live action Genie, And then I'm like, oh, who are they going to cast as Aladdin? Because, like, that was my crush growing up. Yes, I did have a crush on an anime character, but that was my man. So I'm like, who are they going to cast? Like, I feel like I'm being too harsh already before seeing this film. So I knew I was being biased going in. I was trying not to be, but I just could not help myself. And the film is actually really good. I am undecided if this is a type of film I could re-watch. So while it's really good, I'm still kind of way too attached to the original. So Will Smith is fantastic as Genie, and the way he performs the songs, especially Arabian Nights, is just wow. I cannot believe that was him actually singing that entire time. He did such a wonderful job. And then just his performance as Genie was really good. I really enjoyed his performance overall, the movie. Naomi Scott for Jasmine was amazing. I've only seen her in Power Rangers before. I honestly didn't like Power Rangers, but her in this movie was just really, really good. Especially her performance for the song Speechless. Wow, her vocal range was incredible. For the life of me, I cannot remember the actor for Aladdin. I took a while to warm up to him. At first, I was like, it was a bit off-putting, mainly because he's not the strongest singer. And since you're listening to Will Smith and Jasmine, you're like, oh, like he's kind of out of place. But he does grow on you as it goes. As the character Aladdin, he does a great job. As Prince Ali, he did a great job. It's just his singing wasn't the best. But when they did A Whole New World, he definitely grew on me then. He did a great performance with that song, and so he did warm up to me. The only other one was the actor who played Jafar. I can't really remember his name, but he took a while to warm up as well. They tried to make him look too seedy straight away, and like as the audience, you know he's evil. But I'm like, how does the rest not realize he's evil when you look that fucking seedy? So as the film goes on, like obviously his more evil side comes out, and they all realize, oh, like you're evil. Oh no, how can we trust Jafar? I'm just like, how did you not see this coming? So like at least with the animated one, they kind of like try and cover how evil he is because he uses disguises, where in this one it's just... So I do recommend seeing Aladdin, and the music was actually really good, which was a relief. So the last film for my decent list is Men in Black International. This is another film I was kind of expecting to be disappointed in, just because I love the other three so much, and to me, Men in Black will always be Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. I just love them as a duo, and every time they tried to have a different character, like in the start of Men in Black 2, Tommy Lee Jones wasn't in it, and the same with the third one. Like he was traveling back to the past and had to use a young version of Tommy Lee Jones. And while they're good, it's not the same when you don't have their dynamic. So as much as I love Chris Hemsworth, I love Tessa Thompson, it just didn't win me over straight away. Like they just didn't really seem to click, which is a weird thing because like they clicked so well in Thor Ragnarok and Endgame, and their interviews, they definitely click. So I'm like what is going on? Like I know you guys get along, why are you forcing it otherwise? And the twist in the storyline was very, very predictable coming, but it was also like left a lot of plot points because you have to be incredibly smart to join Men in Black. And they made Chris Hemsworth's character out to be really stupid. I'm like, how can you be stupid when you have to be really smart to join? And they kind of reveal that, you know, he had a mind wipe thing. I'm like, oh, that would explain like why he's forgotten things. But when his kind of memory came back of other things, like the intelligence seemed to still be wiped. I'm like, shouldn't you guys have like realized sooner that something was up? Like if he was always smart before and now he's suddenly stupid. Like, I don't know. This is an issue with Man in Black 2 because they also had like a really dumb character in that, and it's just like, how did you get in the Man in Black if you're this stupid? So that's pretty much my only main issue with Man in Black. Just they tried to make him a stupid character. And I adore Chris Hemsworth, but it seems like that's the character he plays the most. I'm like, you could have like shook up a bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do make another one if this is successful enough. And I am interested to see if they do continue Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson as the movie's kind of like, oh, she's getting sent back to the other division. But that's to wrap up my decent films. So that was Mary Poppins Returns, Instant Family, Ben is Back, Alita Battle Angel, What Men Want, Stan and Ollie, Captain Marvel, Dumbo, Pet Sematary, Detective Pikachu, Stormboy, Aladdin, Men in Black International. So now we're going off to the bad movies, and this one's a much shorter one, thank God. And then the Netflix films. So we should be finished very, very soon. So the next film of ones to not bother watching, this is just my opinion. There's people out there that enjoy these films. I think they're crazy, but... So the next one is Mary, Queen of Scots. Now I was actually really excited for this film just based on the actresses. I adore these actresses and I know their performances are generally pretty good, but this movie was just shit. Their performances were shit. The characters were boring, and for the love of God, the movie is so incredibly boring. Like, I was interested in seeing it just based off the trailer, and I believed it was going to be good, and I was just so very, very clearly wrong. It was bad. If you haven't seen it, congratulations, you've saved yourself a lot of boredom. The next film, If Beale Street Could Talk. I only watched this film because it was nominated for an Oscar. It's not really a film that was released here. I didn't really know anything about it, and I wish I didn't watch it because that was also very boring. I don't really remember much of it. I just remember it was incredibly forgetful. The next film is Us. I really loved Get Out, and Jordan Peele did such an incredible job with Get Out. So I was really excited for Us and how he would do this film and what would come of this film. And oh, it was so stupid. I hated it so much. The storyline was just beyond ridiculous. The twist of it was beyond predictable, and then they didn't bother to fucking explain much of anything. The performances, like they were okay, but just the way they decided, oh, you should talk like this, like... I just did not like Us, but my boyfriend absolutely loved it. I'm like, did we watch the same movie? I fucking hate this. So just because you like Get Out and you like Jordan Peele's other movies does not mean you'll like this. Save yourself. Do not watch it. The next film is Hellboy. So I didn't really like the other two Hellboy movies because I just thought they were stupid. I wasn't into them when I watched them. But this movie makes those ones look like a masterpiece. This was garbage. Hellboy was just boring. The performances were just shit. I usually love Mila Jovovich, but she just... fuck. She shat the bed with this one. I just did not like it. The special effects were horrible. The best fighting scene in the movie, they're actually shown in the trailer for the movie. And it's just like, you've ruined the best part of the film already. I hated it. The next film that I hated, it was so boring, was Godzilla King of Monsters. So the Godzilla that came out a few years ago, I didn't like because I'm like, well, they advertised Bryan Cranston to be in this and he wasn't not in it. It was just beyond disappointing. And it was just incredibly boring. And this movie is just so boring. And again, it did the same thing as Hellboy. The best fight sequences were spoiled from the trailer. And then they were just gone like that. Like, what they show in the trailer is basically what was in the movie. It was so disappointing and just so very boring. The last film, I really wanted to like this one. So Dark Phoenix, I love the X-Men movies. I love James McAvoy. I love Michael Fassbender. I love Sophie Turner. I love Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult. I love them all. I really do. This whole cast, I love them. But God, this movie was shit. They've done this storyline with The Last Stand and not many people liked it. So instead of going, oh, maybe we should like not focus on this story, like let's do a different story, they decided to redo it. And it's just like, are you out of your mind? It was shit. And then what happened in Apocalypse? She basically released that Phoenix power anyway. And so why is she even more powerful? And of course, it's always Charles versus Eric. Like, it's been done. Just have them work together straight away for once. Don't, oh, we have to fight them. We'll work together and then, like, they're going to part again. Like, fuck. It has been done so many times. It did not need to be done again. I really want to love this movie because of the cast, because of X-Men. I do love X-Men. I even love the ones people hate. Trust me. And I just want to pretend this movie didn't happen. The fact that it's the last movie they're going to do is such a relief because that means I don't have to buy it on DVD. I can just pretend it doesn't exist, which is fantastic. I just... Not even Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy can save this movie, okay? They just can't save it. There's a lot of plot holes with this movie. And just... I really did want to like it, but I can't. I'm so disappointed in how it turned out, and it's easily going to be on my top 10 worst movie list. It's probably going to take number 1, to be honest. Predicting my own future here. Right. So that is the movies that I did not like. So Queen Mary of Scots, If Beale Street Could Talk, Us, Hellboy, Godzilla, King of Monsters, and Dark Phoenix. So to finish off, Netflix movies. So there is Paula, The Perfect Date, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, Always Be My Maybe. I don't want to go into details with these movies because obviously they're still really easy to see on Netflix. They don't take any effort to go and watch because they're just there if you have a Netflix account. So I don't want to give you any spoilers. Paula is a fantastic movie with Mads Mikkelsen that you should definitely check out if you haven't yet. It is a bit gory, so I'll give you a heads up there. If you don't like gore, don't see it. But otherwise, it is fantastic. The Perfect Date. Noah has kind of just appeared everywhere. And, well, it's just to sit down and enjoy this cute guy movie. The storyline itself isn't that great. And if you watch it, you'll see why. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile is about Ted Bundy. And it takes on the point of view of his kind of girlfriend of the time and not actually him. So it's different from what I expected, but way better. And it's definitely worth watching. Zac Efron is fantastic as Ted Bundy. It shows how like he made so many women fall for him. Because Ted Bundy was meant to be this charming guy, but he's also, as they say, vile, and you'll see why. The last one, Always Be My Maybe. Again, this comes back to how much I love Keanu Reeves because I basically watched this film because I knew his cameo was showing up. And I'm so glad I watched it. I hope that even if Keanu Reeves wasn't in it, I would still watch it because I just loved it that much. The characters are fantastic. The performances are fantastic. And the storyline is even better than you would expect from Netflix. And I just highly recommend going to check out Always Be My Maybe. And thank you guys so much for watching. I know that was a lot to get through. 37 movies in just under 50 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. And if you watch this whole thing, you are a champ. And I'm hoping to do more regular reviews again instead of doing this bullshit. But thank you for watching. Comment on if you want more, if you agree, if you disagree, blah, blah, blah. Like and subscribe, and thank you.